Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2025 release Until Dawn, and I watched this one on Netflix, so if you have Netflix already, you can see it for free. This is one that I heard was not the greatest, and I will also say that it is not the greatest film, but I thought it was relatively entertaining. I definitely think it's worth one viewing because it is kind of interesting. This is a no spoiler review, but I will tell you like the overall premise of the film, which is a little bit spoilery, but not like specific events of what goes on with it. Um, this is based off a video game. Well, based off a video game. A lot of people that I know who have actually played the game have said that this is basically all they took from the video game is the title of it, as well as a very small amount of the premise. Other than that, it's totally different. So if you're going into this film having played the video game and you're like, I hope it's just like the video game, apparently it is not at all. So anyway. This one's directed by David F. Sandberg, who did Lights Out, which I did see and thought was pretty good. Annabelle Creation, Shazam, and Shazam Fury of the Gods. I've heard Shazam's really good, and I heard Shazam Fury of the Gods was really bad. Written by Gary Dauberman, who did scripts for Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, It and It Chapter 2. Sorry, my cat's making noise. It and It Chapter 2, The Nun 2, and the newest Salem's Lot, which I heard that one was really bad. But the script for that first It film was really good. It Chapter 2 was still pretty decent. And then also involved with this is Blair Butler. Some people may be like, that name sounds familiar. Was like a reality TV star on MTV early on, but then went into film-related stuff. Did a bunch of work writing for and being on Attack of the Show on the G4 channel. Loved Attack of the Show. I was a huge fan. Loved the G4 channel in general. RIP to that. But he also wrote The Invitation in 2022, not the 2015 really good one. I haven't seen that one. Polaroid, also haven't seen that. And Hellfest, which I have seen and is terrible. Really bad film. Based on a video game very loosely, obviously. So synopsis. It's about a bunch of friends who are going to kind of this... Sorry, my cat's making so much noise. A bunch of friends who are going to this kind of secluded house. And a bunch of them think it's kind of just like a friend getaway, whereas one of them is mainly going because her sister had gone to this location and ended up disappearing. She's a missing person, so she wants to see if she can find her or what happened to her or whatever. So basically, this isn't a normal house. There is like a weird thing going on where things in the film end up repeating themselves, but they're different each time it repeats itself, and I feel like that is really what ends up driving the interest in this film forward, or at least that's what kept me engaged in watching the film, is that you want to see these interesting premises that they're throwing out. And there are a bunch of interesting premises, but I just think like as a whole, the film doesn't come together all that well because there's some really weak points of it, but I'll end up getting into that. The opening scene is compelling. It's one of those scenes that they set up to just be like, it's disconnected from where you're going to end up starting the film after that, but it ends up making sense at the end of the film. You're like, oh, okay, I see why that was there. But it is one of those kind of attention grabbers because it's like tense and messed up and makes you be like, ooh, what's going on here? I need to know more. So effective. Very early on, this feels like a ripoff of the film The Cabin in the Woods. Now, if you have not seen The Cabin in the Woods and you have seen Until Dawn and you at least somewhat liked Until Dawn, 100% see The Cabin in the Woods. It is one of my favorite horror movies. It is phenomenal. And I really feel strongly that they ripped a lot of things directly from The Cabin in the Woods for this film. And that seems a little bit cheap. Just saying. The acting is okay. There's some kind of up and down with this acting. I don't think there was anyone a part of the cast that was great. It ranged from some people who were pretty solid to some people who are pretty shaky. But overall, the acting it's serviceable, is kind of what I would say, especially for a larger budget film like this. It's not like a huge budget film, but it's also not a super low budget independent film either. So the acting should have been better, in my opinion. The writing is clunky and makes these sudden shifts with characters' actions and their dialogue that just feels very off, including over explaining things. So, one of the big things that hit me first with how the writing is there's like this situation where the characters are talking about and being focused on one particular thing that is very important at that moment in time. And then all of a sudden, one of the characters, kind of out of nowhere, is just like, hey, there's a did you see who turned that over? It's like this sand clock. You know what I mean? There's a name for them, and I forget what it is. But like that sand clock where you turn it over and the sand runs through it. And they were just like, did someone turn that over? Who turned that over? That wasn't like that. But it's one of those instances. It just takes you out of the movie, and you're just like, okay, they're all hyper focused on this one thing that is very eminent and important. This person would not all of a sudden be distracted by this thing and start to distract everyone else with it. It just did not make any sense. And there are a bunch of moments kind of like that throughout the film, which speaks to some kind of weak writing. And like I said, also there's a lot of over explaining that ends up happening with dialogue with the characters that ends up coming off as, we think you're a stupid audience. We need to grab you by the hand and explain to you this is what's going on. Hate that stuff. I hate that stuff so much, especially for a movie like this that is pretty straightforward with what's going on until it gets further on into the end of the film, and then you're just like, this is actually kind of nonsensical, which it definitely is, just nonsensical. At that point, maybe you did want to explain things better. They kind of tried to explain things, but they didn't really, because there's a lot that doesn't actually make sense with what they're trying to do here. It's just kind of like a mishmash of things, and you're just like, okay. But I kind of enjoyed the ride, to be honest. So, like, effective enough, I guess. It doesn't take too long to get to the main premise, which is where all the fun is. So I really appreciate that about it. Overall, the pacing wasn't that bad. Actually pretty solid for a movie like this, for not being like a great movie. Although I will say the ending kind of drags on a little bit too much, and I think this is around like an hour and 46 minutes with credits maybe. But yeah, love the fact that they got into the premise relatively quick. They didn't set things up. Well, I think part of the reason they didn't set things up a lot with the characters is because they don't have very well-written characters in this. They're very one-dimensional. Their relationships don't feel real. They don't relate to each other in a very realistic way. There's a lot of like random stuff that goes on between them where you're just like, okay. So you don't really feel connected to these characters, or at least I didn't. I was just like, let's just see them all get offed, honestly. So, yeah. There are some solid kills. Speaking to the whole wanting them to get off things, there are some solid kills in this film. There is some solid gore. It's not consistently like that. I do think with a film kind of like this, they should have been doing more creative kills, more gore to it, more fun practical effects, because you have to know going into it, this isn't a great film. You just want this to be like a kind of fun popcorn film. So, yeah. What keeps you engaged are the changing scenarios that the characters end up having to survive in. Like I kind of said earlier in it, really like that aspect of it. It truly was this, I wouldn't say on the edge of your seat, but like wondering what's the next thing you're going to see is. What's the next scenario they're going to have to adapt to. Like that was the main fun of the film. The set design and the costuming is actually pretty great. And does help set up a pretty decent atmosphere. I think that's probably the best thing it had going for it. The direction is also pretty solid. Like the cinematography looks good, well shot for the most part. And yeah, I just love the set design, love the costuming, and the effects really, really sell this film further. There's a lot that went into this film that kind of surpasses the script, that makes it kind of successful, in my opinion. The pacing is okay, kind of nonsensical at the end. And that's one of the problems where, like I said, it kind of it gets drawn out at the end, but it makes it feel even more drawn out because it feels kind of nonsensical. And you're like, I know you're trying to explain things, but it also doesn't make sense. And there's kind of like plot holes here. It's just, yeah. It half-baked. Kind of a half-baked idea, honestly. It makes me wonder if they kind of were under a time crunch and kind of just slap the script together to a degree. Or they were kind of slowly working on the beginning, and then they got to a point where they're just like, oh crap, we got to get this done in like a week or so. Let's wouldn't be like that. It'd be like that. But anyway, so overall, out of 5 stars, half stars in play, I'm going to give it a 2.5 star rating because I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it all that much either. Like, I'm very in between on it, so 2.5 stars. But would love to hear other people's opinions. Go ahead and put it down in the comments. Do me a quick favor, hit subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Thumbs up on the video helps me out a lot. Also, hitting the notification bell button will let you know when I'm putting up new videos. And if you want to get a little more involved, throw me a few dollars each month, very small amount. You can join a membership, link in the description. There are 3 levels to it. All levels get early access to all my videos, and it's usually like months ahead of time, honestly, for a lot of my videos. And the top level gets videos that no one else will see. So, yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this. And until next time, keep it brutal.